Olympia Dukakis.
Hello.
Nice to see you. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You know, never mind Oscar and all that, you're having quite a run making really cool Canadian films now, aren't you?
I know. With Tom Fitzgerald and...
Yeah, on this one, and you've done Away From Her, of course.
Yeah.
This is a story that doesn't get told an awful lot in cinema.
Oh, that's the truth.
You know,
yeah.
so the idea of us, an aging lesbian couple who are going to go get married.
Well, I probably would do almost anything in a Tom Fitzgerald movie. I don't care how small or big the part is.
But in this film, it's not just going on and playing.
Yeah,
a
this
role.
film, he was really on me. I mean, my hair had to be... He'd be, every time he thought I was getting to look a little too pretty. If you saw those pictures, I don't look pretty. He said he would like make me do this, and if I had gestures that seemed a little too, I don't know, lyrical or sensitive or something, and he was like, he was an eagle eye on it, and it was really extraordinary.
Well, the transformation's big, but it's one of those things that actors, even when they have to play somebody who isn't traditionally defined as pretty, actors tend to find a way to make them pretty or handsome. So you have to address your own vanity at this point to get into a character like that, don't you?
Well, I think my pride is around my vanity is around being transformational. I really like that. I like being able to change myself and transform myself and do different things. And I take pride in that. I take pleasure in it.
Is it the craft of it that you like?
Yeah, I
process,
do. Yeah? That's what I like. Yeah, that's what matters to me. I guess I never started off thinking that show business was about I was going to be successful or whatever by being how attractive I was. As a matter of fact, when I did Moonstructure, which was another Canadian.
Mm-hmm. Norman Jewison, right?
Right, Norman Jewison. They interviewed my mother, and they said, did you ever think that your daughter would become known this way in the movies, etc.? She said, no, I never thought she was pretty enough. My mother.
No matter what your age is, that's gotta suck to hear that.
No. I laughed. You know why? Because my mother is unbelievably honest, or was, rest her soul. She was very honest. You always knew where she was and what she thought and what she felt. You may not have liked it
right.
or agreed with it, but my mother always showed up.
I wondered for you the idea, like the success of the Moonstructure came a little bit later in your life and your career.
I'll say.
So, in a way, does it mean you could appreciate it more? Or appreciate it differently because it didn't come so early?
Well, I don't know that. Yes, that's true. I did appreciate. I suppose I did appreciate it more, but more than that, I understood what to do with it. I think that was better, you know. And I remember talking with my husband, and he was saying, well, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. And I said, I'm going to play craps. I said, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take chances. That's what I'm going to do.
Stuff that you can't really do until you get that kind of...
Well, yeah, that's what I feel for myself, that it made it possible for me to take chances. I turned down things. Before that, my husband had had a terrible automobile accident and wasn't even able to work for 5 years. So my life was about, you know, doing 3 jobs at once if I could get them, you know.
That's an unbelievable amount of pressure to put on yourself, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, but we had 3 kids and a mortgage, right? Right? 3 kids and a mortgage will put the pressure on you, like
right.
that, just like that.
And so were you looking for something, did you say, okay, now that I'm done this, I want to go down this road? Because the event you're playing, you know, you think about the roles you've played, a mother of someone dying of HIV, AIDS, you're doing transgender roles. Is that what you wanted?
That's what came. And I liked them and I did it. If I didn't like them, I didn't do them. Now I feel like I'm mostly, I mean, I want to do something that scares me. If it doesn't scare me, I mean, what's the point of doing it?
Right.
It's like, I know that's a little perverse.
No,
but
no,
that
no. No, listen,
is
you are
really-
right in my wheelhouse.
That's actually where I'm at right now.
You know, another thing I like about some of the choices, and especially in this particular one in Cloudburst, is one thing that doesn't get talked about a lot is the conversation about sexuality in the aging population. That doesn't get talked about a lot. And if it is, it's usually a joke from a younger comedian. You know, but the exploration of this, it seems like it doesn't get made in the mainstream. Is that something that was interesting to you?
What was interesting to me about this film, first of all, it was a love story. That's the first thing that was like really got me. But it also, although there isn't that kind of historical framework, but the way in which women, lesbians, dealt with all of the criticism and the abuse and whatever was going on around them was to take on a very hard line on it, you know? And that really interested me because I gave the script to a number of friends I have who are lesbians and asked them to read it. I wanted older women and younger women. And the older women were deeply, deeply moved by it. They understood what was really happening, and that the film carries history in it. Maybe it's not written out exactly, but it carries history of a population that had to fight tooth and nail just to be here.
I wonder then what you thought about the Obama same-sex marriage conversation as somebody who's been close to a presidential campaign before, what you thought about where the debate about same-sex marriage is in America right now.
Well, I mean, how to answer that? It's unbelievably ridiculous, number one. It's painful to listen to it, number two. It's a time for scoundrels using issues like that to politicize and to make fraction. I mean, where do you go with it? It's all of those things. You know, I'm glad that he spoke up. I'm glad that Biden did. You know, I mean, I knew he felt that way. I could tell that from watching him and listening to him from when he first started. But I think it was, I mean, it's now, it shouldn't be important, but it is. And so it was important. I'm glad he did it. I'm glad he spoke up.
I mean, you experienced that kind of narrow-mindedness when your cousin was campaigning. I mean, what is it, Loretta Lynn? Didn't Loretta Lynn make an unbelievably racist statement?
How did you know about that?
She did, right?
She actually said when she was introducing Bush, how can you vote for a man you can't pronounce his name? And everybody laughed.
Yeah.
I remember watching that. I remember feeling a deep, old pain and anger from when I was a kid in Lowell, Massachusetts, which was a mill town. So the parents fought in the mills, the kids fought in the streets. Listen, by the time I was 12, I had my own knife.
Really?
I'm not kidding.
Switchblade, angel, butterfly?
No, it wasn't that.
I can see you with Olympia Dukakis with a butterfly knife, eh?
But eventually I became New England fencing champ for 3 years.
That's amazing. That's from the mill town.
That's from that little knife. I don't know what.
Do you reflect much on your career? Do you think of that?
No. I don't do that. I don't, I kind of let things go and just try to think about what I'm doing today and what I hope to do tomorrow. And
for a lot of people, what their parents do when their kids impacts them. And you know that conversation like, oh, Mom, you're embarrassing me, Dad, you're embarrassing me. What's it like when your father in your life sues the Archbishop?
Right.
Because your dad was pretty brave to do that.
Yes, he was.
So he'd seen some sexual improprieties in
Well, a friend of his, the theological school wanted to upgrade itself scholastically, and they asked the Greeks who had academic credentials to come and teach there. And one of my father's friends went and saw a lot of impropriety there. And
as in sexual favors for
sexual
advancement.
yeah, and things. And also, I remember my father talking about people changing the names on books and put. I wasn't privy to everything, but those two things I do remember. And so it came to my father, and he said, "What should we do?" He said, "Sue him." The guy. No. I'll tell you what happened. So this guy goes to. He speaks to the immediate people running the theological school. And they say, "Oh, thank you very much," and do nothing. And then he goes to the archdiocese and speaks, and "Well, thank you very much," and they knew nothing. And he went to my father, and this is what he do. He said, "Well, you have to put it in the newspaper. You want to get it out." So it was like 1951, 52, and the Archbishop calls him a communist. Mm-hmm. Now, in 1951, 52, that was enough to destroy an academic career. I don't know how many of you remember that, but that was there. And so then in talking with my father suggested, well, all you can do is sue him. Sue him.
Did that change your relationship
for defamation.
with the church at all? Did that?
Well, that wasn't the only thing. The only confrontation with the church that I watched and saw with my father. And not just my father, with my mother. They had lots of things they didn't like, et cetera, et cetera. And yet they kept going to church. And yet my mother I had to sing in the choir. You know, I mean, it was like.
Did you hate going?
But to what?
Did you hate going to do that?
When I was a kid, oh yeah, I hated going. I really hated doing it.
Okay, so who's your favorite Greek god?
My favorite Greek god.
Present company excluded. No pressure. No pressure.
Well, can she be a goddess?
Of course.
Of course,
Of course.
a goddess. What would I say? I suppose Aphrodite, I guess.
That'll do.
Or no, Artemis. Artemis.
Why Artemis?
Because she's such a woman unto herself. She doesn't take definition from being either a mother, a partner. She takes definition from herself. You know, that's the one I think if I had.
That would do it.
Yeah.
Now, even though you were given a replacement, your Oscar statue was stolen, right?
Yeah, it was.
Where do we think it is right now?
I wasn't given a replacement.
I thought you were given a replacement.
I had to buy one.
Well, okay, you had to buy one.
Well, that's different. They didn't give me anything. And I had to pay $75 for it. That's all it's worth.
Where do we think your original is?
Where I left it in the kitchen when we came back from the ceremonies, and I gave an interview like this one, and they asked me, "Where do you keep it?" Yeah. And I told them, and 2 days later, somebody broke in and stole it.
It's amazing.
And it's very funny, very, very funny.